Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back. In today's episode, Moshe and I are excited to be kicking off our series on startups, starting with George Whitfield. George is the co-founder and CEO of FindOurView. So let's dive in. How you doing, George?
Good, thank you. How are you, Matt?
Wonderful. Hello, Moshe.
Hey, Matt. Hey, George. Welcome to the show. And this is our second Startup 2.0 or
Right.
second series.
Exciting. We had so much fun last time.
It's fun. And also there is a whole new startups that we find,
Every day.
that are exactly every day, especially with the post-ChatGPT world. Everyone is doing some generative AI. And this fits into that theme absolutely well, George, right?
Absolutely. I think that's what we're working with, large language models, and there's so much going on in this space. It's explosively growing. It's just so exciting to see, and huge potential for product development, product management, user research, tons of opportunities out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but great to be here with you. Thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, of course. So let us start with, first of all, who are you and how did you get to where you are today with FindOurView?
Yeah, absolutely. So FindOurView is the company, and I'm the co-founder CEO. And we founded the business about 5 years ago with the idea that with AI, sort of these emerging language models, which were in the early days at that time, that there are ways to help people listen to each other more deeply and help them understand each other. And we really had this kind of impact-driven mindset, thinking about what are the different commercial use cases that we could get into to really prove that out and scale up a new way of understanding each other at large scale. And so we actually did tons of discovery of our own. And we early on deployed a product into sort of customer feedback, surveys, reviews, that sort of thing. And then from there, continued to look at what were the different markets that would need this sort of technology, AI, to really scale up their insights from a purely unstructured language sense. And so we eventually did so much of our own discovery that we realized we were running into bottlenecks of our own in that. And on the side, I'm involved in some sort of teaching and mentoring. I'm an entrepreneur in residence at MIT also, where I interact with hundreds of students who are starting their own businesses and doing tons of discovery in that process. And I saw this kind of parallel, like big businesses invest a lot in user research. We ourselves had this bottleneck, and early stage founders also consistently have that. And I realized it's over the life of the company, you have to have a dedicated effort to scaling your understanding of those one-on-one conversations that you have that are so meaningful. So we built a product to address exactly that. And we've been working with a growing number now of user researchers, designers, product managers to bring that into their continuous discovery processes and their business strategy as a result.
So first of all, I have to tell you, I've seen this video on LinkedIn that you posted with the MIT students or entrepreneurs. I think it was in MIT, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That was very cool one. I really love that. Lots of energy there. So go follow George on LinkedIn because you will see more of those videos. But so it seems like you pivoted towards that solution once you saw that there is a need for you and for others, entrepreneurs and companies.
That's right. I think consumer insights more broadly is a very, it's a mature industry, I think, in some ways. But there are new aspects of it that are just changing the way we approach that. And it opens up new potential problems to be solved that normally were thought of as not approachable. So we're in a situation today where there are lots of sort of data repos, platforms that are out there that allow people to collect their interviews that they do, and then manually tag things and pull quotes and extracts and little snippets and share that back with their team. And they're very good at structuring the different data that you're collecting and then just holding on to it, helping you find it. But what it lacks is this ability to take away all the manual effort to reread, re-listen to things, pull the tags out, pull the quotes out, get the evidence out, and then synthesize that into the actual decisions that you're trying to make with your team. So we saw a major gap there, and it's remarkable. It's like you once you see that, you kind of wonder, like, why doesn't this exist already? And I think part of it is because of the recent explosive growth of technologies like ChatGPT that really make that level of unstructured data now processable. Because before we thought that was a human task. Now this is something where AI can jump right in there with you and help you make sense of all those conversations and then sort of quantify those qualitative understandings.
I was just thinking the power of this AI assistance these days is really revolutionizing a lot of startups and companies. And it's exciting to see that whether you're a designer or product manager, being able to consume data and having that assistance there to like help you consume it, I think is pretty exciting. So happy to hear that.
We're just coming off, our last series was about user testing platforms. And over there, most of the platforms that we covered were those where you can find panels of users and you can conduct the test. But we also covered, we talked about repositories, and Dovetail was one of the products that we covered. And where do you see, so you're probably familiar even more than us with this type of product, and what do they offer already for, the next level of understanding what people want, not just, like you said, collecting it and storing it and, maybe tagging it and stuff like that, but also actually creating the insights for you so you don't have to reread it and find it yourself. Do they already also do it, or this is where you fit in after the fact that they collected maybe the data?
Yeah, we studied a lot of platforms like Dovetail and others. There are a bunch of others out there like that. And what we found is that they've been around for a fair amount of time. They're pretty well established. They've got a strong user base growing. But those manual tasks I described exist in those platforms. And the people are uploading their data. They can get the data in without a problem. They can reference it, tag it, and pull it into a report. But the tags themselves, it is a manual process to put those in. Because of the very recent sort of growth of ChatGPT and other technologies leading into it, there's become more awareness of the potential ways that you could maybe integrate that. But from what I see, it's early days. The type of support in a lot of platforms like this, it's often maybe like a high level summary, like, okay, here's some key things that you might take away from this, versus what is the actual task being done, and how can we assist the user in their job to be done as they experience it. And so I think because some of these platforms were built with the expectation that this is what you take on, this is what you do, that's the status quo. And we've heard a lot of people complain about using platforms like this and having to spend hours and hours after interviews to try to bring it all together, piece it all together, only to write a report that then sits somewhere that people don't read. So we've not only rethought the insights and the integration of that, but actually, how does that get reported out and communicated and digested by your team?
So what with FindOurView, how do you digest the data? Where the data is coming from?
Yeah. So we take in transcripts. So interview transcripts, many platforms will now generate that. You've got, things like Dovetail, Green, Otter, Fireflies, you name it. Wherever you got it from, we ingest that, and then we also take in the hypotheses that you're looking for. So as a user researcher, you're coming into this with an agenda. You're trying to understand what your customers need.
Yes.
And so that fits into the workflow, the framing of it. And then our AI then reads the hypotheses, reads the interviews, and then validates it for you, constructs a rationale explaining why. This is the explainability part, which matters so much in the research context, and then pulls all the quotes as evidence for you as well. So there's literally zero tagging to be done. You don't have to reread anything. It's a situation where you do the interview, then you hop in the platform, and then you look at what it says, and kind of you either nod or kind of maybe raise an eyebrow and like, well, what about this part? We made it easy for you to to annotate or to change a result, of rationale, whatever you need. And then the final step is all that data, instead of then pasting that into a PDF, we bring it into a chatbot, which we find is how a lot of the product discussions happen. They're async. or maybe you're in a Zoom call but you still have like your chats open and you have to talk things out. And so you now have this new member of your team who's like a scrappy little helpful, bot to just like tell you what you researched and look up anything for you at a moment's notice. So
it's integrated with like Slack and Teams.
Just Slack today, but Teams will be the next one. Definitely a good one to add as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Is the bot continuously ingesting this data and invalidating or validating the hypothesis, and is it constantly learning as you move along?
That's right. So let's say you start a study and then tomorrow you do a few more interviews. Next week you do a bunch more. It's constantly taking that in and then comparing, and then at the high level you get a synopsis of like what is the overall state of validation, and we've got a dashboard to show you that also. And the bot has access to everything you see in the dashboard. So it's a continuous process that's integrated with your data flow.
Very cool.
Yeah. No, that's sounds like you mentioned jobs to be done over there, and that's exactly is the job to be done there. I was working recently in one of my initiatives, Products for Good, where we were building hypotheses, and there were so many hypotheses that we were building. And we are like, first of all, you're thinking, okay, so with all the data that we have with our research that we've done and the interviews that we've done, which hypothesis we should look at first? And then how do we go and collect this data to prove or disprove that? Just to think about that while you're saying, oh, maybe with the tool like that, I don't need even to prioritize them. I'll just give all of them to my tool, and then it will tell me, some of the results there. Which brings me to the next question. Does it know to tell you how definitive it is an hypothesis based on the amount of information that it ingests? Or does it give you just like an answer and you have to trust it?
Yeah, there is an indication of that. Like, let's say that you've got already a fair amount of data points, a lot of interviews that you've done, and you want to test a certain hypothesis going forward. You're not sure whether or not it's applicable to these people. What you can do is apply that hypothesis to those interviews, and it will tell you not only whether it's validated or invalidated with a rationale explaining the reasoning, but if it cannot validate or invalidate it in that interview, it will tell you that as well. So
so maybe I don't have enough information and I need to find more points of data.
Yes. So I think from that, at least you'll get a sense of, it's kind of trying to be as sort of honest and straightforward as it can be. It will not try to overstate the position. It will tell you yes, no, or actually you don't have the information there. So I think that in this context could be an indication. Let's say like you had 20 interviews you did and you have a hypothesis in mind, and then you run it and it comes back, well, 16 out of 20 actually were not tested with that. You might say maybe it's not applicable to them. Maybe it could be an indication that you should change your interview script so that you can in turn get that data to further test it.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because what I noticed with the ChatGPT is that people trust it blindly. And because they trust it blindly, and it doesn't really indicate to them, in most cases that I've seen, it doesn't indicate to them, this is not a final decision, you have to make your own judgment on this, right? Until recently, they did say something, I think they added it, I don't know if it was in the beginning, where they said, we have information up to 2021, so it's as good as 2021. But last week, they also released a new version that actually scan all the websites on the internet. So they kind of claim now they have everything. But still, one of the problems with AI, the users of generative AI, is how much do you trust it? And that's why, 100%. And that's why when we're talking about hypothesis and proving or disproving it, it's really important that the AI is honest, like you were saying.
100%. And I really believe in the importance of having a tool that is kind of like that old expression, the bicycle for the mind. You want something that is an extension of what you're trying to do, that's not overruling what you're trying to do. And so everything that it presents to you, you have the ability to audit and overrule and annotate on top of. It's just aiming to accelerate you to the goal that you're getting to anyway.
Yeah, nice. So if I want to start using it, what do I have to do? Like, what is the setup that I have to do to And how long does it take me to start getting results?
Yeah, it's really easy. You go to findourview.com, you sign up there, and you'll get an account, a free account. You'll have 3 free credits, so you can actually sign up and try it out right away. And the way it works is once you're logged in, you go to the upload page, and there you simply give your study a name, type in a few hypotheses that you have that you were testing, and then copy paste your interview transcript into the little upload window there, and then you just do that for a few transcripts, and you click go. And at that point, it'll take it's usually just a few minutes to process, depending on how long your conversations were, like half hour versus an hour. It might take a few more minutes to get around those, and then it'll come right back, land in the platform. You can start chatting with it right away.
I say an ask it question in NLP.
That's right. So after you upload it in the platform, hop into your settings. There's an area to connect your Slack account, and that's just standard approvals. And then you can then hop in Slack and chat with the data. So what we find people typically do is they usually stay in platform and just browse at a high level, because it'll give you this indication of what percentage was like red versus green, validated versus invalidated. And so then you'll stay there, you'll read the rationales, and then you'll have questions. Once you start wanting to probe deeper on that, you then would want to hop into Slack and then ask it a little bit more about what was found in different parts of the data. That's also another way for the rest of the team to get disseminated to this too, because if other people are asking you about it around that time, you're going to want to sort of bring them all around the bot so that it's easier for them to ask questions and bounce it back and forth with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds very easy.
Yeah. In terms of analytics, obviously you're getting rich data coming in. Is the AI able to process that, identify patterns? Are you looking into analytics in terms of, hey, I've recognized some patterns in the data that's being processed, and maybe even recommendations on future hypothesis, future testing that you're not seeing?
That's such an awesome point, Matt. So that is something we've got in our road mapping for extending this, like to make hypothesis suggestions, and also even critiquing or better forming them too. Because if you think of like prompt engineering, the quality of the output really depends on what goes in. And we know a lot about how to engineer good prompts. I mean, it's under the hood of our stuff, and that can be transferred into the hypotheses themselves. And the earlier product that we built, I mentioned, we were analyzing survey data, review data, thousands and thousands of data points for people with just high volumes of feedback, tens of thousands sometimes. And there's ways to use these same types of models, large language models, to find those patterns, to pick up themes, to pick up topics. So that's very much part of our core technology already. Also in our roadmap, to give you kind of a bit more of like the unknown unknowns versus
right.
Where we're starting, which is you're coming in with your agenda, you've got your hypotheses you're testing, and it'll pick up that too.
That's cool.
That is actually very cool and very smart, because it will make it not just into a helper, it will make it into an actual analyst on the team.
Right.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
And I think at the same time, an analyst that's right there alongside yourself and the other analysts too. I think that we just so much value that human perspective here too. So we're trying to like unburden us from those repetitive tasks of like trying to find those things, and then unlock the creativity, all the innovation that the team would then add to that on top of it.
Getting started is sometimes the hardest thing. So like when you have recommendations, like you're like, okay, I can get started with this. So that's cool.
Our audience can't see right now, but Matt is smiling ear to ear because he loves analytics.
Yeah.
You already know by that.
Yes.
And this is like music to your ears, I think, right?
Absolutely. Analytics and AI. That's like in my ballpark. Yep.
We love it.
Yep.
Now let me ask you this, because I'm kind of curious. It intrigues me. I understand, the research for products, so how product managers can use it, how UX researchers can use it, etc.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me, and this is our audience. But recently, 100%. I also started teaching, and with the teaching comes also assessments, getting paper from my students and getting their answers and then assessing them and grading them. Yes. And I keep getting myself into rereading each one of them more than once, maybe sometimes twice or 3 times, because I sometimes might compare and see, okay, there is a good point this person made and the other people didn't made, and maybe I didn't think about it. I hope my students don't listen to this, but no, they can listen. It's fine. But in general, there is this iterative work of assessing a group of answers to the same question that maybe generative AI also can help with that, to say, maybe this is like the best of all of these answers, and then this is how the other compares to that. Or maybe this is my answer that I would give, and then how did my answer compares with all the answers that I got from the students and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can see FindOurView can also do?
Actually, yes. So the interesting thing is we had a partnership with an MIT research group called We Who Engage, led by Professor Caesar McDowell. And they had, they're in the urban studies and planning department that has a lot of like community engagement. And what they ran is something they call a question campaign. So in this question campaign, they put questions out to the public and invite people to respond, and they'll get hundreds, thousands of responses coming back. And what we did was we worked with the researchers to understand, like, how do they view that? But when they take it in, what are the processes they're going through, and where might our AI accelerate that process? And the type of exercise that we go through when we're, let's say, processing a survey or processing even consumer reviews to like find themes and find topics coming out of that, we found also applies in this case of questioning and a question campaign, where you want to find out what are the commonly held answers that are coming back to this question, and where are people in agreement, where are they not in agreement. We ran another study where, with a different organization, we deployed out and took social media responses in as well, and it's a similar kind of thing. We looked at tens of thousands of responses from some big influencer threads, public figures like Elon Musk and Barack Obama and things, and what we found was, when people respond on something and answer a question like this, if you let the data kind of lead you to your focus in terms of what the collective response is, you can be surprised, because the platform will show you one perspective, but the collective people often have a different perspective on it. And the type of theme finding that we have, we find really applies in these sort of like questioning, the public dialogue, especially as you scale up to larger areas. But I think even in the case of a handful of responses now that we're doing these discovery interviews, we found a way to bring that more immediate to those smaller conversations too.
Yeah. I mean, with discovery interviews, usually, especially interviews face to face, we're always debating about what is the right number of people to interview. And when I started interviewing people for my researches and discovery in product management more than 10 years ago, I read and I was told about 12 people should be enough. And these days I'm told about 6 people should be enough. So that's where, very small number. Yeah, it's like, it would be interesting actually, after all of this generative AI work that is done, to tell us, can we actually create conclusions from this number of people or not, if those numbers are going to change.
That's right. Yeah. So we've literally interviewed, I would say at this point, hundreds of people about how they do discovery. So it's like this, it's funny in the team, we sort of joke about it like it's a discovery inception, because we're a couple layers deep in it. It's like we're doing discovery on your discovery and trying to find about your experiences. Yeah. It's really fun.
Yes.
And what we found was exactly what you're describing. Like, some people have different rules of thumb. Sometimes it's like somewhere 5, 10, 15, kind of feels right. But what we asked then is, like, what about the data? Where does the data really lead you? And how do you know, like, that rule of thumb is applicable to this study versus the next one? Mm-hmm. And the way we see it is that there's actually this idea of, is the information actually present to validate or invalidate this? Are we asking the right questions? What's the quality of those interviews? You really have a tough time seeing that until you have something that's kind of quantifying it in a more uniform way across them, so that you can figure out, do I need to probe deeper on this question? Are we even asking the right questions?
Yes. Yes. But it is a very tough thing for many people to do for many, many different reasons, resources, time, pressures to release stuff, whatever it is. And vanity is also some of them. Like, we think we know better. We have gut feelings about these things. We've heard it all before and stuff like that. So if something that it doesn't have all of those feelings, like a machine or an artificial intelligence, might be better in telling us, yes, we have enough, or we don't have enough. We have to look for more.
Right. You can really check your biases and then sort of feed it with what is the sort of appropriate prioritization to look for to try to overcome some of those things. And it's unfortunately the case that oftentimes this type of really important research is undervalued, and people who aren't in it, people who don't do it, oftentimes won't appreciate the value in that. And I think what we've seen is it's a communications problem too, and it's also just not being aware of what comes out of it. So when you can quantify it, when you can bring it into the discussion organically, let them poke at it and probe at it with like a chat interface, let's say, it really comes alive more, and the team can rally around it more.
Yeah. You mentioned check your biases, and that's a really interesting one. Can your AI also tell you if your interviews had biases in them and maybe warn you about stuff like that? Or, you know what I mean? It's like, we're talking a lot about biases in AI, but maybe we should apply AI to tell us that we have a bias or to tell us that the AI itself is biased.
I absolutely think that we should. And again, we're talking now about a roadmapped feature. It's not in today, but we've developed the technology that's necessary to do this, and we've been testing with this sort of use case as well. And a lot of these things, they're really just like best practices that you should have anyway on the team. And once you have a model that can test for some of these types of things that were previously thought to be less tangible, you can just automate through that and have a scoring system. You can have something to check and improve and help you get ideas about how to improve. So these are things that, like we're talking about now, like bias, how to run good quality interviews, how to ask good questions with good hypotheses underlying. Like, this is like part of the things that I will oftentimes be lecturing at MIT. Like, just the past couple of weeks, I've had a bunch of discussions with students, taught a class specifically on discovery, where the question of bias comes up over and over again. So it's very fundamental. Absolutely. And it's something that it's never like something that you want to just assume is taken care of automatically. It's something that we need to build into our processes.
Awesome. No, this is really fascinating. I'm fascinated. I'm looking forward to try it out and see, how it works. In the process of building the product, you mentioned a lot about your research that you did and your pivoting and all of that stuff, and using it yourself, of course, which is the best way to build the product. Do you have any recommendations about the product stack that you are using to build your product? And I'm not talking about technical stack. I'm talking about for product people.
Sure, absolutely. Before we built this in our like AI and full stack and everything as a user-facing product, we mocked it up and kind of built a more manual version of it. For us, we did it in Coda, these types of platforms, whether it's Coda, Notion, other similar platforms out there that let you have tables of data that then link to each other and help you then kind of automate some of your interactions between those data sets. That can be very, very valuable. Airtable is another thing you could kind of use. But Coda Coda and Notion, it builds it into like almost like a dashboard format, wikis, documentation. It's all unified. We found that very helpful, and tracking our customer interview data sets, our company operations, our road mapping, our ticketing. We all built that through there.
Nice. I'm not supposed to be biased in this podcast because we're not promoting any specific product, but I use Coda and Notion, both of them, and I have my opinions about them. And I'm not going to say, which one I like more. I would just say that I'm really happy that you like Coda.
It's been great, and they were very helpful. We met them at a conference. Some of their people, I think it was at Industry actually in Cleveland where we met with them. And at that point, it just seemed like a very compelling offering. This was when we were first considering using different solutions. And then they've got this great startup program too. It's like $1,000 in free credits if you qualified for that. So,
Nice.
so we did that, and it came in handy. But yeah, we've seen a lot of other teams adopt that, and everybody has their own preference. And I share this methodology with all the students that I'm teaching, and so sometimes they'll try out what we did. Sometimes they'll just go replicate their own version of it in a Notion, and you have to have some kind of a system to try to unburden yourself from those repetitive tasks, though. Of like
we're going to have we didn't have yet a series about this type of products for product management. So I know I can invite you now to come and talk about Coda.
Oh, totally. I think we're power users in Coda right now.
Nice.
I'm happy you like Notion, so but not to be biased, but yeah. This brings up a good point about integration. So we mentioned Slack, possibly Teams in the future, bi-directional integrations, getting data in and out of the system. Could you speak into that and where that might be in the future?
Yeah. I mentioned the way our data currently gets in is we've got an upload page, you're pasting in your transcript. Where we see this going is more multimodal. So, a lot of the platforms right now that are used for, let's say, conferencing will have also integrated with that some kind of like AI summarization, let's say. But it's typically like the general conference platforms have a general summarization thing, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not specific to the job to be done that we're really leading into and helping our customers with. So we're kind of taking the other angle. It's like, okay, we want to start at helping that job, getting it analytically solved, and then surfacing it more towards where you would naturally get the inlet. So think of like having our bot jump in on your Zoom call, or having it jump in other areas where you're talking to your customers, and then bringing it in that way. And that also dovetails very well. It's very synergistic to the current trend also of the AI industry as a whole, going multimodal, the new release of ChatGPT 4V, and also, audio versus video versus text, like it's all converging. Yeah. So we've been positioning ourselves to really leverage all of that.
That's cool. Yeah, when you mentioned multimodal, I was thinking imagery and the ability to consume not only just text, but video as well.
100%.
Image, you can learn a lot by looking at videos. So images of people, that's good quality feedback as well. So
what about feedback systems? Like, all the roadmap systems these days, they have some type of feedback systems, like Product Board and Pendo and the others. And that feedback is also important, even though it's not a survey and it's not an interview. It's just feedback from people, and they will send you a blurb about what they need or what they want. Is that also something that can be pushed into FindOurView?
Yeah, that's really where we came from. This is something where before we got into our current product, this Discovery Insight platform, as we call it, we deployed a product that is able to analyze survey data, review data, and you could envision other forms of feedback coming into that too, like tickets. We ran social media data through it, so it's something that absolutely we do, and I think that's another important point that you make, which is teams today, they have got various types of sources of data coming in, and they need a way to digest and incorporate all of that into their operations in a prioritized way, prioritizing what's the most important thing first. Mm-hmm. I think where we landed was we found that for a lot of those different data sets, there's different reasons that they exist. There's different ways that they've come to address them. But where we saw there was a gap was these discovery interviews being just very, very underutilized, undervalued in some cases, and completely manual. But the people who are doing it are very passionate, very dedicated, and really needed our help. So so the answer would be yes. Actually, you can apply this to those types of scenarios too. We're simply prioritizing the discovery interviews because we see huge potential there.
Yeah. Very nice. Awesome. So you're coming up with a new version, I believe, shortly. Maybe when we release this podcast, can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So what the newest version will be doing is really just making it easy not only to have these conversations with your customers, getting incorporated into the platform, analyzed, but also bringing your team on board too. So we've got the ability now that it'll be able to invite other team members in to collaborate more in platform too, and have everybody annotate those together with you. And then all those different team members, you can invite everybody in and then share the same Slack space. So everybody will have sort of a group chat with this together. So that's kind of where we're looking right now in terms of the next big push. Is it's more so towards getting your entire team in and integrated in a very easy way. So that's what the newest version will be doing is streamlining that process of getting the team on board.
Amazing.
Nice. Collaboration's key.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, you also have upcoming a product hunt, right? Tell us about it.
We are launching our product on Product Hunt. All the pieces are in place. We've got this core functionality. You can upload your interviews, you can analyze them, you can chat with it, and we're ready to serve teams with that capability. So we want to put this out there in the world for everyone to who's excited about product and interviewing their users and understanding their data, for them to just try it out and give us feedback. So we would love for everyone to jump in Product Hunt when we launch and try it out and let us know what you think. So we're launching on later this month. Looks like on the 17th, actually, we'll be launching. So please hop in there and let us know. We'd love to see what you think of it.
Awesome. Now we have to rush in and get this episode ready, so it will be available for you. And good luck with that launch. Always exciting to see new products like that on product hunts. So I really hope that our audience are going to go right away into trying out findourview.com, right?
That's right.
That's the website. And try it out and tell us, what do you think about it? And get in touch with George. And where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, you could reach me at george@findourview.com. You can also you can find me on LinkedIn, George Whitfield, and feel free to jump in there. We'd love to get your feedback as well. And it's free to get started. Toss a couple interviews in there, see what you think, and then let us know. Let Product for Product know too.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much, George. Really appreciate it. This was a great conversation. Look forward to seeing where FindOurView goes in the future. We'll talk again down the road.
Look forward to it, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And really good luck. We are rooting for you. This is really important. And I think that maybe some of those companies like Dovetail are going to start buying soon or looking to buy some companies. So who knows?
Yeah. Our doors are open. So anybody interested in this space, always feel free to reach out. And we look forward to hearing from everybody.
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Thanks to all the listeners. Appreciate it. Thanks, Moshe. George, take care.
You too.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.